考定之道，借英语之识，大学习之意，借文化之火。接受 Q&A， 嘉盛家长会。
Hi, welcome back to another episode of Just Show Q&A. I'm Jonathan Dotson. Today we're going to be talking about how you can improve your child's English. There are two things that I believe are very important to think about before we start looking at the fine points. The first thing is, I think it's important to remember that children are growing and they are developing. So just like maybe they need extra practice to learn the physical skills to play sports, they're also going to need extra practice to develop the control to be able to make sounds properly. That's point number one. Point number two, also very important, is that here in China we talk about English. As a practical matter, in many ways, there's no such thing. The British speak English. The Americans speak English. People from New Zealand speak English. None of them speak the same way. As children go through school, they will be exposed to different accents, different ideas, and many of these are good things. It's good to be exposed to different things. But as you go through, you need to start learning that you can't just throw everything into the same box and say, that's English. It is, sort of. If someone from New Zealand speaks to me, I do know the language and the grammar, but their word choices may be different, their accent is certainly different, and this is important to keep in mind. Okay, now let's carry on. We've talked about some general problems, but what about some specific problems? It's important to understand that children are growing. Children all over the world have trouble with certain sounds. They may have trouble with the and what, and that's part of early education. The same will happen for your children. They're going to have to practice these things. When I was young, I went through the Canadian school system for a few years, and one of the things that they did is we had to go and visit somebody at the school. They brought in a speech coach, and the speech coach tested us on different sounds to make sure that we were speaking clearly. There are some words that give the ordinary Chinese speaker difficulty. For example, many students seem to be able to say the short American vowels, our a, e, sounds, a little easier than their British counterparts. The British vowels are more rounded. But I think if I had to pick one simple sound that is commonly a problem, it's the American short I, the I sound, the sound of pin or tin. Okay, why is that a problem? Well, you may have noticed that in the US, Bruce Lee has his name spelled L-E-E, because Americans who are not familiar with Chinese don't know that L-I should sound like E. They think it, and that's not correct. So to get the sound right, the spelling is E-E. We look at that, we know. Oh, E. Okay, that's vowels. Out of all the vowels, that short I is the easiest to make a mistake with. For example, the word L-I-V-E, live. If you make a mistake and you use the long Chinese E sound, live becomes leave. Bye-bye, 再见. Obviously, you don't want to make that kind of mistake. Just like if I get the tone wrong in Chinese, I said the wrong word. If you change a long I and a short I, you may have said the wrong word. How about consonants? You know, we've talked about A-E-I-O-U. Well, there are certain sounds in the consonants that are a lot of trouble. Some of them are well known, but my personal favorite is the R sound. I have tried for years. I still cannot say the Chinese L for ro, for example, correctly. It's in the wrong part of my mouth. I'm too old and I can't put my tongue in the right shape. Well, my students have the opposite problem. They're used to putting their mouth in that shape and they get the R sound wrong. All right. There are some other things to pay attention to without looking at specific letters. Generally, I find that these 2 points right here are a problem. I watch my students speak. You'll notice that when I'm speaking, my fingers are moving. If I really try, I can keep my fingers in one place, but then the sound is wrong. So when your child is practicing, let them move their mouth. If you see that their mouth is not moving, they're not making the sounds clearly. All right, being able to move the mouth, especially paying attention to these 2 points on the upper lip, that is an important step. Not all of the steps are physical though. Yes, it's important to be able to move your tongue. Yes, it's important to be able to move your lips, move your jaw, but some of it is a mental process. For example, if you come from a part of China where you know that you have certain sounds that you have trouble with in Putonghua, you're going to have the same trouble in English. If you have trouble with s and sh, then you may have trouble with your s and sh in English. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to the way a word is written. Just like the strokes in a character are important in Chinese, the way a word is written is important. There is a tendency to change certain words in English. For example, I've had students that I have to tell, you cook a chicken in the kitchen, because the sounds are just close enough. To me, they don't sound the same, and I think of how the word is written. They shouldn't seem the same. But for students, some of them find it very difficult. I've had many students tell me that kitchens are cooked in a chicken. Don't make that mistake. Those are some things that are very specific. To go back to our original points, I want to remind you that children are still growing, even in the US. They go and they have to practice their was and their was and their f. All of those things are a problem that it's like having to buy new shoes. When children are young, it's just a phase that they pass through. You can help your children, though, by giving them the chance to hear more things, to do things that are enjoyable. There is a good reason to expose your children to movies and songs and other things that give them the opportunity to hear the correct way to say something. It is useful, just like I said, you can use a word processor to practice your writing. You can take something that will let you record your voice and compare it to a known sample. You can do this with a computer. Many mobile phones will do something like this. You can buy tools from the electronics department that will let you play, for example, a tape and then repeat a word, and you can compare the two sounds. All of those things are useful. As a child gets older, it may be helpful for them to repeat some of the sounds that are hard. Looking in the mirror, they can look. Is this part of their mouth moving, or are they trying to talk like this? I can't do it. It would be hard for them. All right, those are some things to help children learn. I hope you'll join us for our next episode of Just Show Q&A.
到此一重千里目，谁知才上一层楼。